What decision did your parents completely regret? My parents put a lock on our kitchen that activated at 10 every night because they said my midnight snacking was out of control and costing them hundreds in grocery bills. I really didn't think I was eating that much, and I even warned them this was a bad idea. They didn't believe me until the first night with the lock. Our washing machine flooded the entire laundry room and basement. You see, I usually grabbed leftover pizza at 11:30, which was exactly when it would make that weird grinding noise. I'd been, without knowing, kicking it back and resetting something inside it every night. Without my foot, the machine ripped the water line completely out of the wall, pumping hundreds of gallons directly onto Mom's collection of first edition books she stored in the basement. The next day, our neighbor Jerry broke into our garage at 2 in the morning and stole Dad's riding mower plus all his power tools worth $8,000. I always caught Jerry creeping around when I went for my usual bowl of cereal at 2:15 because I could see the garage from the kitchen window. This time, nobody saw him, and he had 4 hours to clean us out. My grandma lived with us and had started sleepwalking recently. I'd always caught her when she wandered through the kitchen trying to get outside. Without me there eating string cheese, she walked straight out the front door in her nightgown and made it 6 blocks before a cop found her trying to break into an elementary school because she thought it was her childhood home. The officer brought her back at 4 in the morning, and CPS started asking questions about elderly neglect. I mentioned to my parents that maybe the lock wasn't working out, but they said this was about teaching me discipline and boundaries. My mom said your grandmother is fine, and she just needs better medication, and the insurance will cover the flooding, and Jerry would have robbed us eventually anyway, while Dad installed motion sensors to make sure I wasn't picking the lock. Our cat Mustard always came to the kitchen around midnight, and I'd let him out because otherwise he'd pee on everything in protest. With the kitchen locked, he destroyed Mom's $30,000 Persian rug that had been in her family for 5 generations, and then shredded Dad's leather recliner into confetti. The smell of cat pee became so overwhelming, we had to replace all the living room furniture and tear out the hardwood floors because the urine had soaked through to the subfloor. But things got worse when I wasn't there to notice the gas leak from our stove at midnight, like I did every few weeks when the pilot light went out. The house filled with gas all night, and when Dad went to start his car in the morning, the tiny spark from the garage door opener literally blew out every window in our house, and the neighbors called Homeland Security thinking it was a terrorist attack. We had to live in a hotel for 2 weeks while hazmat teams verified our house was safe for human habitation. My parents still refused to remove the lock and actually added a second one plus a chain because they thought I'd somehow caused the gas leak on purpose to prove a point. My dad said this is about your health and learning to respect boundaries, even if it means dealing with some minor inconveniences while writing a check for $20,000 in home repairs. Without my late night presence, nobody heard the pipes burst in the walls at 3 in the morning during a cold snap, and water poured through the electrical system, causing a fire that destroyed half our house. I also wasn't there to accidentally interrupt the raccoon family that had started opening our windows from the outside and inviting themselves in to raid the pantry. They established a whole colony in our attic and had babies, and the exterminator said it was the worst infestation he'd seen in 30 years of business. Grandma's sleepwalking escalated, and she somehow got the car keys and drove to the airport where TSA found her trying to board a plane to Dubai with no passport or ticket. She told them she was meeting her deceased husband for lunch, and they placed her on a federal watch list. The house became basically unlivable between the fire damage and raccoon feces and toxic mold from the flooding and cat urine soaked into every surface. My parents finally called a family meeting where they admitted defeat and said they were removing the kitchen lock immediately. My dad said we need you to go back to your normal routine right now, while Mom sobbed into her hands. He said this house is about to collapse and we're going bankrupt and Grandma might end up in federal prison. I grabbed the key and headed to unlock the kitchen, but stopped when I saw something through the window that made my blood freeze. Jerry was in our driveway with 5 other guys loading everything we owned into a moving truck while our house burned behind them. I said, Mom, Dad, you need to call 911 right now. Full story on the channel below.